You just fired the man who's been holding this company together for 2 decades. I didn't shout. My voice was low, steady, just loud enough for the security guard to hear as I slid my badge across the front desk. I stepped into the Monday rain, a cardboard box under my arm. 20 years of loyalty, packed between a faded photo of my daughter, a chipped company mug, and a half-dead snake plant I'd nursed through 3 office moves. Want more gripping tales of workplace drama like this? Subscribe to our channel for stories that hit close to the cubicle. Monday, set 59. I was untangling a shipping snafu. Someone swapped digits on a Kansas zip code when the elevator chimed. Not Gregory Grant, the chairman who'd trusted me for years. It was his son, Julian. Fresh from Harvard, back from some global business immersion that smelled like a yacht party in Monaco. Italian suit, polished shoes, jawline sharp with privilege. He didn't greet anyone, just barked. 10 minutes. Department heads, conference room. Don't be late. We shuffled in. Julian stood at the head of the table, exuding the confidence of someone who thought a TED Talk made him the CEO. This company's a museum, he said. If you're not adding value, you're dead weight. I'd survived recessions, a warehouse flood, and a ransomware attack that nearly tanked us in 16. But the way Julian's eyes lingered on me, the guy his father called when things broke, felt different. He wasn't here to lead. He was here to erase. He didn't fire me that day. He waited 2 days long enough to make it look like a strategy. Wednesday. HR called Marcus, "Can you stop by the wellness room?" That's what they call the firing chamber now. Soft name, hard fall. They offered chamomile tea and a script. Your role as head of infrastructure strategy is being phased out for a leaner future. I nodded. Asked one question. Is Julian signing the release? The HR rep hesitated. Yes. I smiled. Good to know. Julian didn't know about Titan, core materials. Our only domestic supplier of precision thermal casings for our robotics line. Last year, they nearly went bankrupt. Nobody noticed, except me. I'd spent late nights restructuring their payment plans, streamlining their logistics, and securing a state grant to keep them afloat. No press, no bonus. Just a handshake from their founder, Ellen Hayes, and a promise, "Marcus, we owe you." Without Titan Core, our production would stall, orders would back up, clients would bolt. Julian. He couldn't even name our top suppliers. I didn't rush. Revenge is a dish best served with paperwork. 2 days after my exit, I met Ellen in a diner off Route 15. Over greasy coffee and a stack of financials, we talked options. My severance wasn't enough for a majority stake, but I had my retirement savings, a small loan from an old colleague at Ironbridge Capital, and a plan. Ellen was tired. Decades of fighting creditors had worn her down. She agreed to sell me a 40% stake in Titan Core, with an option to increase if we turned a profit. By Friday, the deal was done. I was a partner, not an owner, but it was enough. Titan Core's survival now depended on me, and so did Julian's company. Tuesday, 10:00 a.m. The agenda, a new supply agreement with Titan Core. Julian strode into the glass-walled conference room, all swagger, expecting a handshake deal. He nodded to Ellen, then froze when he saw me at the table. "Marcus," he said, voice catching. "What's this?" I stood, extended my hand. "Good to see you, Julian. Shall we start?" His eyes darted to his assistant, then the contract packet. He sat tie slightly askew and forced a grin. "Let's get to it." I opened the terms. Titan Core offers a 24-month deal, quarterly adjustments for market shifts, due to recent operational changes. I met his gaze. All orders require upfront payment, minimum quantities apply, and late payments trigger penalties. Julian's jaw tightened. "That's not what we discussed." His voice rose, a crack of desperation breaking through. "You're trying to squeeze us, Marcus. This is personal." I leaned forward, voice steady. "Personal. You fired me without a second thought. Julian, you didn't even know what I did for this company. Tell me, can you name the supplier who keeps your production line running?" His face flushed. "This isn't about trivia. I'm streamlining operations, cutting costs. You were—" He hesitated, searching for words. "You were redundant." The room went silent. Ellen shifted in her seat, her eyes narrowing. Julian's assistant stared at the table, pen frozen. "Redundant," I said, my tone ice cold. Last year, when Titan Core was drowning, I spent nights restructuring their debt. I secured a grant that saved them and your supply chain. You didn't even notice. Redundant is firing the man who knows where the bolts come from, then begging him to save you when the line stops. Julian slammed his hand on the table, papers scattering. "You think you're indispensable? I've got consultants, analysts, a whole team ready to replace you. This," he jabbed a finger at the contract, "is a stunt. You're out of your league." I didn't flinch. "Then why are you sweating, Julian? If I'm out of my league, why's your assistant double-checking the contract like it's a death warrant?" A nervous laugh escaped his assistant, quickly stifled. Julian's eyes blazed, but before he could retort, the door flew open. Gregory Grant stormed in, eyes scanning the room. They landed on me, then Julian. "What the hell is going on here?" Julian stood, voice trembling. "Dad, I've got this under control. Control. Gregory snatched the contract, saw my name on the ownership disclosure. 40%. You fired the one person who knew our supply chain inside out, and now he's in it. And you're yelling like a kid who lost his keys. Julian's face drained of color. I didn't know didn't know Gregory's voice was a low growl. You didn't ask. You didn't read the reports. You didn't even talk to Ellen before signing away our leverage. He turned to me, almost pleading. Marcus, how did we get here? I sipped my water. Calm. You hired the wrong man, Gregory, and you fired the right one. Julian sank into his chair, hands shaking. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Ellen cleared her throat. Shall we continue with the terms? I nodded. Let's. For the rest of the meeting, Julian barely spoke, his pen idle, his confidence shattered. They called that night. Not Julian, probably hiding in a boardroom somewhere. Gregory. His voice was heavy, like he'd aged a decade. Marcus, we need you back. Name your terms. I let him talk. Then I said, I don't want a desk, Gregory. I want leverage. I laid it out. A 7-year exclusive vendor contract with Titan Core, with modest price escalators, autonomy over Titan Core's distribution terms, a 5% stake in their robotic subsidiary, a say in future supply chain hires, and one more A note in Julian's file. Not suited for executive leadership. Gregory exhaled. That's personal. So was fissuring me, I said. He signed. No fanfare, no press. I didn't stop at Titan Core. Over 6 months, I built TWW Industrial Group, a lean holding company. I acquired a small fastener plant in Michigan and advised a struggling mold foundry in Arizona, turning their books around. Quiet moves. No headlines. Julian's company felt the pinch. My new terms cut their discounts. Their order priority slipped. 2 clients jumped to a competitor after delays. Their revenue dipped 12% in Q2. Not a collapse, just a slow bleed. Julian demoted to special projects. Rumor was he spent his days tweaking slide decks. No one read. Gregory didn't fire him, but the board's whispers did the job. He was a ghost in his own company. But it wasn't all victory. Late nights at Titan Core meant missing my daughter's piano recital. My savings were tied up, my mortgage payments tight. Some nights, I'd stare at that snake plant, wondering if I'd bet too much. I didn't just want leverage. I wanted progress. So I called Arlo Kincaid, an engineer I'd worked with years ago. Over beers in his cluttered garage, we redesigned their flagship casing lighter, 15%, more heat efficient, built with materials my suppliers controlled. We patented it under TWW Industrial. Instead of selling to Julian's company, I licensed it to a hungry competitor in Colorado. Their press release hit hard. Next-gen casing sets, new standard, powered by TWW. Gregory called, "Name your price for access." I smiled. "You're already paying." They cut royalty checks. Not millions, but enough to cover my daughter's college fund. Last winter, an embossed envelope arrived from their headquarters. An invite to their executive retreat in Hoya Aspen. Theme: resilience in crisis. They wanted me to speak, to share my inspiring story. I didn't respond. Instead, I rented a lodge nearby same weekend. I called it the Supply Chain Summit. No CEOs, just vendors, floor workers, the people who kept the gears turning. Over bourbon and firelight, we swapped stories, signed deals, built something new. I raised a glass to the ones they called expendable, to the ones who built the machine. Across the ridge, their retreat glowed with buzzwords and PowerPoint slides. I wondered if Julian was there still chasing a crown he'd never earn. I stepped into the snow, the air sharp in my lungs. My empire wasn't a throne. It was a pipeline, one they'd pay to use for years. But as I looked at the stars, I thought of my daughter's photo in that box. I'd won the game, so why did it still feel like something was missing?